Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Wherever you're comfortable. You want to
Okay,
stay here?
thank you, I appreciate it. Oh, they're back there.
Oh, they are? Okay.
There's cameras around.
Camera one, camera two.
Are we good to stream? All right. Action.
Okay. Well, welcome, everybody. It's so wonderful, with COVID and everything, it's been, I've been mainly doing funerals by the graveside, and it's just wonderful to see everyone came here, for Arnold and for his family, to give everyone support. Because this is a time when family really needs friends and family around to give support in this time of loss. So, of course, we want to support Rose Ellen, and Jeffrey, and Julie, and Meredith. Meredith, tell me what you go by again.
Murray.
Murray, okay, Murray. That's easy to remember. And Grant, and Nikki, and all of their spouses, their children at this really difficult time of losing Arnold. In the book of Kohelet, it says, "The eye never has its fill of seeing, young or old, those who depart." Oh, by the way, I'm Rabbi Ann Landau, from Temple Bethel in Geneva, New York. I can't be rude and not introduce myself. So the eye never has its fill of seeing, young or old, those who depart this life never see enough of the world, never complete their task, never cherish their loved ones enough before they are called home. How they yearned for yet another respite from the final summons, and how we yearned to have them close to us for yet another challenge in our lives, yet another joy, yet another precious moment together. God be now with those whose hearts are broken, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. Console them at this hour, be near to them. When life seems distant, sustain them, O God, until the time of healing. At this time, I'd like to ask Murray to say a few words about her dad. Are you ready? Are you ready? I can start with Tyler.
Oh.
Would Tyler like to go first?
Sure.
Tyler's going to say a few words about his grandpa.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Today I want to tell you how Pop-Pop, aka Arnold, was the best Pop-Pop to so many people. And that is because he would tell the best jokes that will always make you laugh, or it was his funny hair that would majestically flow in the air. But all I'm trying to say is how he is the best Pop-Up to me, Noah, Theo, Zach, Ethan, Parker, Jordan, and Austin. And that is all I have to say, because Arnold Pollock was the best Pop-Up ever. And Pop-Up, I can't believe you ate the whole thing.
Great job, Tyler. I'm gonna follow that.
I could do a little reading.
Let's do that.
I'll do a little reading and then Murray,
All right.
go. This is, birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity, from youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith. From defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. I like to think of that. We're on a journey, and Arnold's here with us now at the end of his journey to life everlasting. And Mari, I'll let you speak now.
I have paper. I have a fancy phone.
He's got his.
Okay. And
There we go. Okay, so one of our running jokes in the family is what a horrible handyman my father was.
I know.
His rusty toolbox contained a hammer, Phillips and flathead screwdriver, and a socket wrench that was missing most of its parts. The legacy of my dad that he left me is a toolbox of so much more with the way he lived his life. He taught me how to communicate with just about anyone and to ask for what I want and to have it handed to me with a smile. He showed me what it means to walk into a room and take command, tell a story, and leave people wanting more. His friendships showed me what a lifetime of mutual trust and support will give, and all you receive from it as well. His role as a husband and a father has taught me family is the most important part of life and protect it at all costs. So, while I wasn't taught the skills it takes to build a shed, my dad left me a shitload of tools to go inside my toolbox, and I'll be able to pass them down to my sons as well.
thank you, Mari. So white men here aren't that handy, and women too. Are you the builder in your house?
I'd like to say that I'm mechanically inclined, and I didn't get it from my father. Got it from your father.
Not handy.
Yeah.
It could be.
But he did teach me, know your strengths.
So now, in this little booklet here, we have a poem that I like to read together with you. We just have to make a little minor adjustment. It says we remember them. Instead of saying we remember them, when you respond to me, say we remember him. Okay, I'll start and then
Which page are those?
we'll alternate. I think it's on the first page. We remember them.
Oh, great.
I opened it. At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we remember him.
At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember him.
At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember him.
At the shining of the sun against the warm
Summer.
We remember him. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember him.
At the beginning of the year and at its end.
We remember him. As long as we live, he too will live, for he is now a part of us, as we remember him.
When we are weary,
we are strength.
We remember him. When we were lost and sick at heart, we remember him.
when we have joy,
We remember him.
When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember him.
when we have achievements that are based on theirs,
We remember him.
As long as we live, he too will live, for he is now a part of us.
As we live.
David, were you going to speak for Nikki or Grant?
Yeah,
Grant, would you want to say a few words
Yeah, I
about
do.
your father?
not a few words so much as I got to send him off with a joke. I have to apologize in advance, but most people are of age. No, my sister did a wonderful job of telling everybody what an amazing man he was. So one of his favorite jokes was, as you all know, he loved a dirty joke. So we do have a couple young kids, but I think it's okay. So a little boy and a little girl got a puppy, and they were down in Georgia. And it was a big weekend down in Georgia because the preacher was coming to town, and everybody wanted to come and meet the preacher. And they wanted to bring their puppy to meet the preacher so that the puppy could be blessed by the preacher. And so it was the big day, and they go down to the big tent, and they go in, and they're very nervous, and they're carrying their puppy, and they walk up to the preacher, and they say, "Hi, Mr. Preacher, very nice to meet you." They say, "Oh, children, very nice to meet you. What do we have here? What are your names?" And the little girl says, "My name's Blossom." And he goes, "I'm sorry, what is it?" "My name's Blossom." "Oh, Blossom, you're such a beautiful little girl. Now, how did you get your name, Blossom?" He goes, "Well, when my mother was pregnant with me, she was laying under the cherry tree and a blossom fell on her stomach, and so they decided to call me Blossom." And he said, "What a beautiful name. Oh, God bless, what a beautiful name. And you, son, what's your name?" "My name's Teddy." "Well, Teddy, how did you get your name? What a beautiful name." "Well, you know, when I was born, I was named after my grandfather, Theodore. And so they decided to call me Teddy. But he was a majestic man, a great man, and so I'm proud to carry the name." I said, Oh, Teddy, that's a great name. "And what do you have with you today?" They said, "Oh, this is our puppy." And they said, "Oh, what a cute little puppy. He's so chubby, he's so cute. What's your puppy's name?" And they said, "Oh, our puppy's name is Porky." And they said, "Oh, of course it's Porky. What a cute, chubby little puppy. Of course you call him Porky." And they said, "No, preacher, we don't call him Porky because of that. We call him Porky because he likes to fuck pigs." That was for
Is that really one of
Oh, yeah.
That was number 26. On another side of Arnold. How do you know that? Well, every funeral has, especially, Arnie left too soon, but he did have a full, wonderful 50 years of marriage, and it's always too soon, but sometimes when someone's had a relatively long life, we can share a laugh or two. Roselle, did you want to say anything about Arnie?
He's dying. He's laughing his ass off.
I was married to a wonderful man, and we had a wonderful life. We were blessed. We had children who were amazing, and they're all good people, which I think is a major accomplishment in today's world. We had a time together to travel, time together to rejoice, and we had a lot of times where we were sad together. I know he would love to have been here in his own service. He could modify it the way he wanted. Because he always took charge. As soon as he walked in, you knew he was there. And if you were in a conversation with him and you were in a hurry, you you're in trouble. I used to tell him he held people hostage, because he would just keep talking and talking and talking. He would say goodbye on the telephone at least 15 times. So, what I want everyone to know is how much he was loved and how much he loved everybody. I never heard a nasty word come out of his mouth about anyone. And he showed by example, and I think our children were very, very lucky to have him as a father. There are 2 children missing today from his first marriage. It was Julie and Jeffrey, and they live far away, and they had been here just over a week ago to see him in the hospital. So it didn't really make sense for them to come to this when they wouldn't really know anyone who was coming through to pay their respects. So they are here in spirit, and we appreciate that so much. We love them so much. It's nice being the mother of 5 children. And there is a big gap between the oldest, who is now 62, and the youngest, who is almost 19 months. So I'm very grateful to my husband for making this family unit, and he was the glue, and I'm hoping I can keep everybody together, because that's how I want it to be. I thank all of you for coming today. It was so nice of all of you to pay your respects, and he would have loved seeing each and every one of you. So thank you, and know that we had a wonderful life together, and I'm so grateful he was my husband. When we first met, I was engaged to another man, and he was married, and we worked in the same business. And he was just a goofball to me, because he would call into the office and trying to place a furniture order from one of the stores he just been into. This is before cell phones, of course. And 9 times out of 10, he'd pick a cell phone underneath the elevated subway. So as soon as he started to talk, the trains would come, and I would be able to hear what he was saying. So he would have to come into the office later in the day and tell us what it was he needed. And when he got his cell phone, his whole world opened right up. And he was like the little old lady at the backyard fence. All of his friends would love to gossip. I have never really been a gossip, so I never quite understood it, but he loved it. And he would just know everything about everybody. And wherever he went, people knew who he was. I can't tell you how many times we were introduced to people as a couple, and later I'd see one of those people in a store or on the street, and I'd say hello, and they'd look at me like, who are you? And I'd say, hi, I'm Rose Ellen, Arnold Pollock's wife. Oh, yes, Rose Ellen. But they had no idea, because all I remembered was him. So that's how I'd like to leave it today. I want all of you to remember him, because he was such a magical, wonderful person, and I miss him very, very much.
It was just beautiful, as it was. Just beautiful. We can join together and read Psalm 23, which I hope is on page 4 in your book. You see Psalm 23? Yeah. Is it on page 4?
Yes.
Okay. You don't have to read it in Hebrew, we'll just do the English, if that's okay with everybody. So let's read together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, and leads me beside the still waters. God revives my spirit and guides me, and righteousness for the sake of God's name. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me.
presence with my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Nikki, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I can say a few things. So we've had prepared speeches, and we've had jokes. So I'm just gonna wing it. Really, I just wanted to say a few things about Dad. When people talk about Arnold, they talk about what a goof he was, how funny he was. And there's so much about him that's more than that. We were talking to the rabbi last night, and we said he was amazing at math. He was so fast with math. I didn't get that trait, but he was a math whiz, and he was a classical music savant. I mean, you could put on the classical music channel, you know, the AM radio station, and he could name the symphony after 10 seconds. I mean, it was amazing. And he was a good father. I think everyone knows that, but a funny story and a tribute to him is when I was in second grade, we went to the zoo. And I'm much like my mom, she made him be the chaperone. I would now make David to do those, thanks. So Dad was the chaperone, our second grade trip to the zoo. And most of you know, Dad lost a pinky in an accident at a very young age. So we were at the zoo, and we were, you know, standing by the lions or something, and he goes, the lion got my finger. And I was so embarrassed, one of the little boys cried. And Dad felt so bad, because that was not his intention, he was trying to be funny. So at the zoo, I've been to the zoo, I haven't been there in, 30 years, but there was a McDonald's. So afterwards, the group gets back to the entrance, and Dad buys my group apple pies to, you know, make up for making the little boy cry. But then the teacher comes up and said, Arnold, you can't do that. If you were gonna buy an apple pie for the kids, you have to buy them for all of them. And Dad's like, oh, okay, I'll buy for all of them. She said, no, that's not the point. So even at his older age, he was getting in trouble. But the great part about that story I didn't learn about until I was in college. And my first parents' weekend, my friend was standing by Mom and Dad's car looking at something in the trunk, and I was like, what are they doing? Dad had pulled out of his briefcase in the trunk a name tag. It said, Mr. Pollock, Nikki's father. All those years, he had saved his name tag from that trip. It just goes to show you he loved his family so much, and he was sentimental. I'm going to try to find the letter I sent from Lord's Camp that he saved. It said, I hate this place, come get me. That's all it said. And he did come get me. But he was a loving father, and he was sentimental, and he was caring, and as much as he was a goof and inappropriate and silly, which we've all incorporated into our own personalities, he was a loving father and amazing man, and I know that's why you are all here to celebrate that with us. And I hope those of you who can will come by the house later and spend some time with us, and raise a drink in his honor. He would be laughing and say, what are all you assholes doing around, sitting around crying? And we want you to have a drink. So I hope to see you all later.
Thank you, Nikki. Your mom wanted you to sing Sunrise, Sunset, but I know that's above and beyond what you do now. It's just so beautiful. That was one of Arnold's favorite songs, Fiddler on the Roof. Who was in Fiddler on the Roof? Nikki, no, you were.
And that's when you walked me down the aisle to that song too.
As I was driving here today, I passed your wedding venue. Happy memories. Arnold's Hebrew name was Aharon Yitzchak, and I didn't have to even ask Nikki because I just looked at her in David's wedding contract, and I had it right there. So I'm going to read a prayer or sing a prayer, which is a traditional prayer that we say at a Jewish funeral. It's called El Malei Rachamim. Oh. That's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Is she getting hungry or? Probably. Okay. And it can be found, we'll read it first in English. It can be found on page 2. I'm going to read a very slightly different version, just like David Arnold's name.
2.
You'll, just so you get the idea, you can follow along. Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltered presence to Arnold, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance, may he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Amen. El Malei Rachamim Shochem Ramronim Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina V'malot Kedoshim U'Taharim Gezohar HaRakia Ma'asirim and Nishmat Acharon Yitzchak Shalach Li Olamo Val harachamim nastivenu v'seter knafav liolamim v'yisror b'tzror ha'chayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach v'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Did anyone else in the family want to say any words about Arnold? I'll say a few words. I first met Arnold in September of 2013 when he reached out to me before the Jewish New Year. His temple, B'nai Yisrael in Auburn, where he had attended for 40 years, was closing. And although Geneva was a bit of a drive, he wanted to join a synagogue. That was the side of him that I knew. The side that wanted to join a synagogue. The following year, he came to services, and I offered him an honor. We were called up to the Torah scroll, to the Bible, and you say a special blessing. It's called an aliyah. And he accepted the honor, and he said the blessing over the Torah scroll, because he grew up in a traditional home, and he knew Hebrew, and he knew his prayers. I was told he even remembered his bar mitzvah portion, and was able to chant that, that he learned when he was 13 years old.
I'm very proud of it.
Very proud of it.
Then in 2015, he contacted me to ask if I'd officiate at Nikki and David's wedding. And I had the honor of meeting the family and being involved in such a happy occasion. A few years later, Arnold said he wouldn't be coming to services anymore, that he and Rosellen were going to be getting their house ready to sell. I think he was putting a new roof on. He was telling me about some of the repairs. So he was a little bit handy, and I lost touch because I assumed that they had moved to warmer climes or something, and until I got a phone call from Nikki and contacted by Rosellen as well, and letting me know that sadly that Arnold was in hospice care, And I had a chance to speak with him and spend an afternoon with Arnold and Rosellen. And even in those very last days of his life, he was the kind, sweet man that you all knew and that you all spoken about. And the love between Arnold and Rosellen was just palpable in the room. The whole time I was there, it was just really beautiful. And then last night, Murray, Grant, and Nikki and I spoke for a little while on Zoom. And I heard another side of their father, and I got a picture of this fun-loving, energetic Arnie. They told me about his youthful adventures in Philly, and how he was strong and a fierce defender of the family, but also a neat freak. And as Nikki said, a math wizard, a musical genius, and he also loved Frank Sinatra and musicals. Even offering advice and coaching to the cast of Fiddler on the Roof at the school production, where people, in Skaneateles didn't know that much about life in Europe and shtetl living, the small Jewish towns where people lived in Europe. He was also a voracious reader, consuming up to 3 books a week. He loved spy novels and thrillers and history. And Nikki even said that, I think it was Nikki, maybe it was Murray, that when he was ill, when he was coming down with Parkinson's, that because of all the reading, his brain was so healthy that he couldn't even detect it on the scans. That he from all of his reading and music, and that he was very youthful and alive all the days of his life. He was a very accomplished and hardworking provider for his family. He loved his work as a salesman. And the travel required was hard on Rosellen and the children. I hope Nikki doesn't mind me telling this, but when she was a little girl, just slow her father down to prevent him from leaving, she would lick his tie so that he'd have to change his clothes before he could leave. And I thought that was, I hope that's okay, Nikki. Hope I didn't embarrass you. And despite all the travel, he was always there to celebrate all the occasions, to go to the concerts, to the sports, to the games, to the hockey games. Roselle was telling me she would freeze in Geneva at before they had the enclosed hockey rink. And they had a beautiful custom, a Pollock custom of a banana birthday. Does anybody know what a banana birthday is? What is it? Tell us, what is it?
I mean, you put a candle in a banana, and boom, sing, blow it out, make a wish. We did it with Nikki all the time.
And does the whole thing, do you all get bananas on your birthday?
I eat one on my birthday.
Leo, do you get a birthday banana?
I voted out when I was a baby.
Okay. You get a birthday banana?
So that way, every morning, before kids went to school, or he could call up if he was on the road and be sure that everyone knew that Dad was thinking of them on their birthday. And also, he dealt with illness and physical injury and hardship with tremendous grace. He didn't want to stop working. He was working, even with Parkinson's, late into his 70s. He had he was deaf in one ear. With all his musical ability, he didn't let that stop him. Who would have to talk to Grandpa? Who knew which ear they had to talk to Grandpa in?
They just had to be really loud.
Oh, yeah, I had to scream on the phone.
Right, he had to scream on the phone. But it never stopped him from enjoying his life. He and Rosellen,
If it was in.
did I miss something?
We're saying, they're talking about the hearing aid, that never worked.
Oh, the hearing aid.
But when it did, it was great. It was amazing.
And he and Rosellen, no one wanted to travel during COVID. Did it stop them? No, it didn't stop them. They traveled, they visited all their children, right, in August? Yes. They did a nationwide tour.
He was afraid that the Parkinson's would overtake him, and he wanted to see his whole family while he could still participate in things. So we used all our air miles and our hotel points and whatever, and we stayed at houses too. But we saw everybody, I think, except that Burnett, who had a fire and his house was gone. But we got everybody else in.
Which is quite a feat in this day of COVID. Most people are not jumping on airplanes, traveling all over the place. And in the days leading up to his death, he had a chance to say a special goodbye to all his children and to tell them how proud he was of all of them.
And he told each one of them they were his favorite.
We
We figured that out.
We had a discussion about that, us parents who have many children, we know that you can have many children and each one of them can be your favorite. Unlike Tyler here, I was trying to print this out this morning, but I couldn't, and I said, okay, I'll just bring my phone, and hopefully it will work. Okay. He loved his family, his work, his golf. We have any golf partners here? He loved the sun. He loved dressing sharply, and that picture, you can kind of see his tie, and he also loved a good suntan. He lived life to the fullest, and he will be greatly missed. And I want to finish up here with the words of Frank Sinatra, who he loved. Oh, I just had them, and now they're gone again. Tyler, I need you to help me with my phone. I'm not serious. I'll get it if you're all patient with me. Okay. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll make it clear, I'll state my case, of which I am certain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more. I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much, much more. I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew, and through it all, whenever there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. I've loved, laughed, and cried. I had my fill, my share of losing, and now as tears subside, I find that it's all so amusing. And to think, I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, no, not me, I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got, if not himself? Then he has naught. Not to say the things that he truly feels, and not the words of someone who kneels. The record shows I took all the blows and did it my way. I think that song really captures the Arnold that I've learned about and Arnold I knew, a very lovely, charming, warm,
Charlie Charming.
warm, in Yiddish we would say a mensch, a good guy, a good guy. So I'll end the service with the traditional prayer of mourning, which is called the Kaddish. This prayer actually speaks nothing of death. It only speaks of sort of praising God, and the way I also look at it is gratitude, you know, that even in moments of loss and sadness, we try to transcend that and reach in our hearts and feel gratitude for this beautiful world and for the loving relationship we had with Arnold. And the Kaddish prayer can be found here, and it's in English. Well, actually, I don't think it's in English. I think it's transliterated. The Hebrew is put into an English form.
Phonetic, yeah.
I don't know why I'm having trouble finding. Oh, here it is on page 3.
Page 3.
Page 3. Thank you very much. So it's traditional, if you're comfortable, to rise for this prayer. If not, please feel free to remain seated. And if the mourners, do any of the mourners feel comfortable with saying the Kaddish? Okay, well, I'll lead you, and there's also the English transliteration. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei Rabba, Yalma, Tidra, Yitei, Vayami, Ma'aseh, V'chayechom, U'yomechom, U'chayei, Jachol, Beit Yisrael, V'agama, U'bizman, Hariv, V'yimru, Amen. Yehi, Shrei, Rabba, V'varach, V'olam, U'omei, Omaya, V'barach, V'shabach, V'yipar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, Yitzhadar, Yitzhalei, Yitzhalal, Shemei, Yishah, Rihu, Le'ela, Nikol, Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechamata, Damiran, V'yalma, V'yibru, Amen. Yehi, Shomarabba, Min Shemaya, V'chayim, Aleinu, V'alkol, Yisrael, V'yimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom, V'ramav, Hu Ya'aser Shalom, Aleinu, V'alkol, Yisrael, V'yimru, Amen. Zichrono Livracha, may Arnold's memory always be for blessing and for happiness and for love. And let's say, Amen. I think there'll be a procession to the cemetery. If any of you are able to come, did you want to make an announcement?
Yeah, when you're done. Yeah. Sure. Just like close our services here at funeral. Everyone's more welcome to the cemetery with us if you like. You just pull up your car in the north driveway here. We're gonna excuse the groom, the chapel to the back of the room forward, so everyone can have a seat. Back row will come up, you pay your respects and exit out the front door. Okay, that just gives the family the chance to be last. Thank you. The last couple rows, just go right in. Thank you.
Stand.
Okay.
Yeah, just don't forget all your stuff's on the back there. Call us, we need a second.
Okay.
Sounds good.
It's on the pitches on the side. You go to the second gate, it's just in there. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, there it is.
film. They didn't recognize you. I haven't seen you in so long. Thanks.